It was placed there by a God who understands the human soul far better than any textbook or theory ever could. And while psychology helps us observe human behavior, Scripture reveals the eternal truth behind it. Today, I want to share with you 5 profound insights, secrets, if you will, that explain why certain people command respect wherever they go. These are not tricks. They are timeless principles that echo both quiet confidence is one of the most misunderstood qualities in human behavior, yet psychology consistently reveals it as one of the strongest foundations of respect. It is not loud, it is not flashy, and it does not demand attention, but it commands it. Quiet confidence begins internally long before it is ever noticed externally. It is the settled assurance that a person carries when they know who they are, why they are here, and where their value truly comes from. People instinctively sense this kind of inner stability, and when they do, their response is respect. Psychology teaches us that human beings are constantly scanning their environment for signals of safety, competence, and authenticity. Loud self-promotion often signals insecurity rather than strength, while quiet confidence communicates emotional security. A person who is comfortable in their own skin does not rush to prove themselves. They listen more than they speak. They choose their words carefully. They do not interrupt, exaggerate, or dominate. Their presence alone communicates that they are not threatened by others' success, opinions, or abilities. This calm self-assurance creates a sense of trust, and trust is the soil where respect grows. Quiet confidence is rooted in self-awareness. Psychologists note that people who understand their strengths and limitations tend to project steadiness rather than defensiveness. They do not overestimate themselves, nor do they shrink back in fear. They can accept feedback without collapsing and receive praise without becoming inflated. This balance sends a powerful message to others: this person is grounded. When someone is grounded, they are predictable in the best sense of the word. Their reactions are measured. Their decisions are thoughtful. Their emotions are not constantly spilling over onto everyone around them. That kind of emotional maturity earns respect without effort. Another essential element of quiet confidence is the absence of comparison. Psychology shows that people who constantly compare themselves to others are more likely to seek validation and approval. Quietly confident individuals are not driven by comparison, they are driven by conviction. They understand that worth is not a competition. When you stop measuring yourself against others, you stop needing to outperform them to feel valuable. This frees you to celebrate others instead of resenting them, to collaborate instead of compete, and people deeply respect those who are secure enough to lift others without fear of losing their own standing. Quiet confidence also expresses itself through consistency. People respect those whose demeanor does not dramatically change with circumstances. The person who remains calm under pressure, steady in uncertainty, and composed in conflict sends a powerful psychological signal of leadership. Studies in behavioral psychology reveal that individuals who regulate their emotions effectively are perceived as more competent and trustworthy. When someone does not panic at bad news or boast during success, it reassures those around them. Respect grows when people feel emotionally safe in your presence. There is also a moral dimension to quiet confidence. It is often rooted in deeply held values. A person who knows what they stand for does not need to shout their beliefs to validate them. Their convictions are revealed through choices, not arguments. Psychology refers to this as internal locus of control, the belief that one's life is guided by internal principles rather than external approval. People with this orientation move through life with calm resolve. They are not easily swayed by trends or pressure, and others recognize that strength. Respect naturally follows those who stand firm without being rigid. Quiet confidence is not silence, it is discernment. It knows when to speak and when to wait. Research in social psychology shows that people who speak less but with intention are often perceived as wiser and more authoritative. When words are not wasted, they carry weight. A quietly confident person does not fill every pause with noise. They are comfortable with silence because they are not afraid of being overlooked. Ironically, this very comfort with not being seen often makes them unforgettable. This kind of confidence is also deeply relational. It does not push others away, it draws them in. People feel valued around someone who is not constantly performing. When a person is secure, they can fully focus on others rather than on managing their own image. That attention feels rare in a world driven by self-promotion. Psychology confirms that people feel respected when they are genuinely listened to, and they respond with respect in return. At its core, quiet confidence is a reflection of inner alignment. When a person's identity, values, and actions are in harmony, there is no inner noise competing for attention. That harmony produces peace, and peace is compelling. People may not be able to explain why they respect such individuals, but they feel it. They sense that nothing needs to be proven, defended, or exaggerated. In a restless world, quiet confidence stands like an anchor, steady, calm, and strong enough to hold weight without making a sound. Integrity is one of the rarest and most respected qualities in human character, because it requires alignment rather than performance. Psychology shows that people are constantly evaluating whether others are reliable, and reliability is formed when words and actions repeatedly match. When a person says one thing and does another, the human brain registers dissonance. Trust weakens. Respect erodes. But when someone consistently lives what they speak, even when it is inconvenient, people take notice. Integrity speaks quietly, yet it echoes loudly in the minds of those who observe it. From a psychological perspective, integrity reduces uncertainty. Human beings crave predictability in relationships because it creates emotional safety. When someone's behavior is inconsistent, others are forced into a constant state of interpretation and caution. But a person of integrity removes that burden. Their yes means yes. Their no means no. Their character does not shift depending on the audience or advantage. This consistency allows others to relax in their presence, and when people feel safe, respect begins to form naturally. Integrity is closely tied to credibility. Studies in social psychology reveal that credibility is not built through charisma alone, but through behavioral consistency over time. A charming personality may capture attention, but only integrity sustains respect. People may admire talent, but they honor character. When someone follows through on commitments, admits mistakes, and accepts responsibility, they demonstrate a strength that goes beyond image. They show that truth matters more than appearance, and that principle resonates deeply with the human conscience. One of the most powerful expressions of integrity is honesty under pressure. Psychology shows that ethical decision-making becomes more difficult when there is something to lose. That is precisely why integrity is most visible in moments of cost. When a person chooses truth over convenience, accountability over excuses, and responsibility over self-protection, they distinguish themselves. Others may not always agree with the decision, but they respect the courage behind it. Integrity is not about perfection, it is about faithfulness to what is right, even when it is uncomfortable. Another essential aspect of integrity is transparency. People respect those who are real rather than curated. Psychological research highlights that authenticity builds trust because it reduces the gap between public behavior and private reality. A person of integrity does not pretend to be flawless. They acknowledge limitations without self-pity and accept correction without defensiveness. This openness signals confidence and maturity. It tells others that there is nothing hidden, nothing manipulative, nothing fragile behind the image, and that clarity fosters respect. Integrity also governs how a person treats others when there is no immediate benefit. Psychology refers to this as moral consistency. People watch closely how someone behaves toward those who cannot advance their status. When respect is shown only upward, it is quickly recognized as strategic. But when kindness, fairness, and honesty are extended to everyone, regardless of position, it signals depth of character. Observers may never verbalize it, but internally they register that this is a person who can be trusted with responsibility. The alignment of words and actions also strengthens self-respect, which in turn influences how others perceive you. Psychology confirms that individuals who violate their own values experience internal conflict, often expressed through defensiveness, irritability, or overcompensation. But when someone lives in alignment with their beliefs, there is an inner coherence that radiates outward. They speak calmly. They act decisively. They do not need to constantly justify themselves. This inner harmony becomes visible, and people tend to respect what appears whole and integrated. Integrity builds long-term influence rather than short-term approval. People may temporarily applaud impressive talk, but they remember consistent action. Over time, patterns reveal truth. A person who consistently keeps promises, honors commitments, and stands by their values builds a reputation that does not need explanation. Psychology refers to this as reputational capital, the accumulation of trust earned through repeated ethical behavior. Once established, it becomes one of the most powerful sources of respect a person can possess. Integrity also shapes leadership perception. Research consistently shows that leaders perceived as ethical are more respected, even when outcomes are difficult. People are more willing to follow someone they trust than someone who merely succeeds. Integrity creates moral authority, a form of influence that cannot be demanded or imitated. It grows slowly, quietly, and invisibly until one day it is undeniable. At its deepest level, integrity is the refusal to live divided. It is the decision to let truth guide behavior rather than convenience, fear, or approval. When a person chooses alignment over advantage, they communicate something profound without saying a word. Others sense it, they rely on it, they honor it, and in a world where image often outweighs substance, integrity remains one of the most powerful forces shaping lasting respect. Explain key point no. 3 into 800 words Zevlas, without any subheading and ending sentence. Self-control is one of the most powerful indicators of inner strength, and psychology consistently identifies it as a core trait of respected individuals. It is the ability to govern impulses, emotions, and reactions rather than being ruled by them. While talent may impress and intelligence may attract attention, self-control sustains respect because it reveals maturity. People instinctively trust those who demonstrate mastery over themselves because anyone who can manage their inner world is far more capable of navigating the outer one. From a psychological standpoint, self-control is closely linked to emotional regulation, which determines how a person responds under stress. Human beings are deeply affected by emotional contagion. When someone loses control, others feel the impact. Tension rises. Uncertainty spreads. But when a person remains calm in the midst of pressure, they stabilize the environment. Studies show that individuals who regulate their emotions effectively are perceived as more competent, credible, and trustworthy. Their composure sends a nonverbal message that they are not overwhelmed, and that message earns respect. Self-control does not mean suppression or denial of emotion. It means discernment. Psychology explains that emotions are information, but reactions are choices. A person with self-control feels anger, disappointment, and frustration just like anyone else, but they do not allow those emotions to dictate behavior. Instead of reacting impulsively, they pause. That pause creates space for wisdom. People watching may not notice the internal struggle, but they notice the outcome. They see restraint where others expect retaliation, and that restraint carries authority. One of the clearest demonstrations of self-control is how a person handles provocation. In moments of conflict, the instinct to defend, justify, or attack is strong. Psychology reveals that impulsive reactions often escalate conflict and damage relationships. Those who resist that impulse display strength rather than weakness. They do not raise their voice to be heard. They do not insult to feel powerful. They choose clarity over chaos. Observers often interpret this as confidence because it shows that the person is not emotionally hijacked by the moment. Self-control also governs speech. Words spoken in haste can undo years of credibility. Psychological research shows that people who think before speaking are perceived as more thoughtful and intelligent. When someone does not feel compelled to comment on everything, argue every point, or correct every error, their words carry more weight. Silence, when chosen intentionally, often communicates more authority than noise. People tend to respect those whose speech is measured because they associate restraint with wisdom. Another important dimension of self-control is patience. In a world driven by instant gratification, patience signals depth. Psychology shows that the ability to delay gratification is associated with long-term success and stability. People respect those who do not demand immediate outcomes, applause, or recognition. Patience demonstrates trust in process and purpose. It communicates that a person is not desperate, and desperation erodes respect. When someone can wait without resentment, work without constant affirmation, and endure without complaint, others take note. Self-control also affects how a person responds to success. Psychology indicates that excessive celebration, boasting, or self-congratulation can diminish perceived competence. Those who maintain humility in success and discipline in achievement signal that their confidence is internal, not dependent on praise. They do not need external validation to feel secure. This steadiness in both victory and defeat builds credibility. People respect individuals who are not intoxicated by praise or destroyed by criticism. At a deeper level, self-control reflects values. It shows that a person is guided by principles rather than impulses. Psychology refers to this as self-governance, the ability to align behavior with long-term goals rather than short-term emotions. When people consistently act in ways that reflect restraint, fairness, and discipline, others begin to trust their judgment. Respect grows when people believe you will not sacrifice integrity for convenience or reaction for relief. Self-control also enhances leadership presence. Leaders who react emotionally create instability, while those who remain composed create confidence. Research consistently shows that teams perform better under leaders who demonstrate emotional regulation. Even outside formal leadership roles, individuals who display self-control often become informal anchors within groups. Others seek their perspective, rely on their judgment, and mirror their behavior. Respect naturally flows toward those who set the emotional tone rather than being swept away by it. Ultimately, self-control is strength turned inward before it is expressed outward. It is the quiet power to choose response over reaction, wisdom over impulse, and purpose over emotion. People may not always recognize the discipline behind it, but they feel the effect. They trust the steadiness. They value the reliability. They respect the person who can stand firm when emotions rise, remain calm when tensions flare, and act with intention when others act on instinct. Explain key point no. 4 into 800 words without any subheading and ending sentence. Genuine empathy is one of the most powerful yet understated forces shaping human respect because it touches the deepest psychological need to be seen and understood. Psychology consistently shows that people are drawn to those who make them feel valued, not evaluated. Empathy is not about agreeing with everyone or absorbing their emotions. It is about the disciplined choice to step into another person's perspective without judgment. When someone feels truly heard, respect naturally follows in both directions. At a psychological level, empathy activates trust. Human beings are wired to respond positively to those who demonstrate concern and attentiveness. When a person listens without interrupting, without planning a response, and without redirecting the conversation back to themselves, it sends a powerful signal of respect. That signal is rarely forgotten. People may not remember exact words, but they remember how they felt in your presence. Feeling understood creates emotional safety, and emotional safety is the foundation upon which respect is built. Genuine empathy requires presence. Psychology reveals that divided attention weakens relational bonds. When someone checks their phone, rushes responses, or listens selectively, the brain of the other person interprets it as disinterest or dismissal. But when attention is undivided, when eye contact is steady and posture is open, it communicates importance. That kind of presence is increasingly rare, which is why it is increasingly respected. People are drawn to those who give them their full attention because it affirms their worth. Empathy also demands humility. To truly understand another person, one must temporarily set aside ego, assumptions, and the need to be right. Psychology shows that people resist those who constantly correct or instruct them, even when the information is accurate. But when someone listens first and speaks later, they create space for connection. Respect grows when people sense that they are not being measured, fixed, or managed, but genuinely understood. Another critical element of empathy is emotional validation. Validation does not mean endorsement, it means acknowledgement. Psychology explains that emotions intensify when they are ignored or dismissed. When someone says, in effect, "I see why you feel this way," it reduces defensiveness and opens dialogue. People respect those who can acknowledge emotions without being overwhelmed by them. It takes emotional strength to sit with another person's discomfort without minimizing it or rushing to solve it. Genuine empathy also shapes how conflict is handled. In disagreements, empathy allows a person to separate the individual from the issue. Psychology shows that conflicts escalate when people feel attacked rather than understood. When someone listens even while disagreeing, it communicates maturity. Respect increases when people realize they can express themselves honestly without fear of ridicule or rejection. Empathy does not weaken authority, it strengthens it by demonstrating fairness and emotional intelligence. Empathy extends beyond conversation into action. Psychology emphasizes that empathic concern often leads to supportive behavior, whether through encouragement, patience, or advocacy. When people see that your concern is not merely verbal but practical, trust deepens. Respect is reinforced when empathy is consistent, not selective. Those who show compassion only when it is convenient or visible are quickly discerned. Genuine empathy persists even when no recognition follows. Another aspect of empathy is the ability to read emotional cues. Psychology identifies this as emotional intelligence, the capacity to recognize and respond appropriately to others' emotional states. People respect those who notice when someone is uncomfortable, overwhelmed, or excluded and respond with sensitivity. This awareness creates a sense of inclusion. Respect grows when people feel protected rather than exposed in social or professional environments. Empathy also plays a crucial role in leadership and influence. Studies show that leaders who demonstrate empathy are more respected and effective, not less. People are more willing to follow someone who understands their challenges and values their contributions. Empathy builds loyalty because it humanizes authority. When people feel that their leader or peer understands them, they are more willing to invest trust and effort. At its core, genuine empathy reflects a belief in the dignity of others. It communicates that people are not tools for achievement or obstacles to overcome, but individuals worthy of care. Psychology confirms that such an attitude fosters deeper relationships and lasting respect. In a world often driven by self-interest and haste, empathy stands out as strength rather than softness. When empathy is sincere, it does not announce itself. It is revealed through patience, attentiveness, and kindness. People may not label it as empathy, but they feel its impact. They feel safer, valued, and respected. And in response, respect flows back toward the one who took the time to truly see the mythological wisdom and divine design.